Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPad 10th generation and see how it compares against the iPad 9th generation and see which specific phone is the better one for you. And see which specific iPad is the better one for you. Now if you want to pick up either one of these tablets, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now starting off with the outside of both of these tablets, they're both a little different. I love the iPad 10, but the iPad 9 was also a very good iPad that's still very cheap and I would highly recommend buying. The iPad 9 has that 10.2-inch Retina IPS LCD panel on the front. It's a pretty good looking display. You have a bit of bezel on the top and bottom. You have the Touch ID sensor right on the front of that display. And overall, I think it's a good looking iPad. I've never really had too many complaints with it, but you're definitely getting a better looking iPad with the iPad 10. With that 10.9-inch Liquid Retina IPS LCD panel. That iPad looks beautiful. I've always had a really good time with that specific panel, with any panel like that with its lack of bezel. Now, there's still a lot of bezel on it, don't get me wrong, but it looks like it's less than the iPad 9 because it is a little bit less. No home button here, you have Touch ID on the top power button. And overall, I'm a big fan of the way this specific iPad looks, and I would say that one has a better display overall, but the displays are just very close, like there's not really like a big difference here either. Now, you are getting a Lightning port on the iPad 9th generation. The iPad 10 is getting that USB-C port, but what's crazy is you are actually getting Apple Pencil 1 support on the iPad 10 and on the iPad 9. So you have to buy a dongle for the iPad 10 Apple Pencil. It's so crazy. I don't know why they made us do this. It's very, very annoying. But if you aren't going to use the Apple Pencil, then that's not a big deal to you. But it's still a very weird thing that they even did between these two devices. You have headphone jacks on both these tablets. On the back, you have the kind of flat backs on both, which is kind of nice. Camera setups, and that kind of covers it up on the outside. Now from those cameras, you are getting an overall better camera setup on the iPad 10 for sure. So on the iPad 9, you're getting that 8 megapixel camera on the back and a 12 megapixel camera on the front. The iPad 10 has a 12 megapixel and a wide angle camera on the back and an ultra wide 12 megapixel camera on the front. So the front cameras between these two things are very similar. There's really not that big of differences between these two. They have 1080p at 60 on the front. On the back though, you are able to do 4K at 60 on the back of the iPad 10. But the iPad 9 can only do 1080p at 30. So there's already a big difference there. You are getting a far better camera on the iPad 10 than on the iPad 9. So that is something that is actually really cool for the iPad 10 that you have that type of capability. So I would tell you from the camera perspective, the iPad 10 is going to be giving you a way better camera from that perspective than on the iPad 9. So that's kind of a big thing to keep in mind there. Now in terms of software and longevity, you will be getting the longer lasting iPad from the iPad 10. It's just how it goes every single year. As iPads get newer and newer chipsets, the iPads from before with older chipsets aren't going to last as long, and that just makes perfect sense. So in this case, pretty much no exception, you will be getting basically the longer lasting iPad from the iPad 10 than from the iPad 9. So again, just one of those minor things to keep in mind at the back of your head. Not a deal breaker in my opinion, but still one of those things to keep in mind. Now, on top of that, you are getting, very good performing iPads between both. The iPad 9 had that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. With the iPad 10 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. And from what I can tell you, again, you are getting a better performing iPad from the iPad 10 than on the iPad 9. And that's, again, one of the better things here. And that's something I love about the iPad 10. It's a faster performing iPad with a kind of newer design, which is really nice. Now, would I switch from an iPad 9 to an iPad 10 because of the performance? Absolutely not. But it is a nice thing that we do have a better performing iPad there. So that's a cool thing that you have at the end of the day there too. So at the end of the day, I would definitely tell you the iPad 10 is the better iPad here for sure, but I still think the iPad 9 is very much worth the money. And if you'd rather have one of the ones that are the better deals between these two, the iPad 9 is the better one. But I think the iPad 10, if you want to buy it, go for it. But I think the iPad 9 is probably the better deal. I would recommend then if you're going to get the 10, just go and get the iPad Air 4. That'd probably be a better deal in my opinion. So that pretty much covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.